this evening, as it is on our flyer, or on our timetable rather, we'll be considering what I tag higher education. Now, in an African setting or in a Nigerian setting, when we say higher education, the first thing that comes to mind is, there is this type of notebook, a very long one, big one, a full scarf sheet, where it's being torn from, or where we pulled it out from. That is what comes to mind. But there is more to higher education than it just being a notebook. There is more to education than it just being what we think it is, or what we have been taught it is. So one thing we need to understand is, if you have a teacher as a friend, either the one that teaches primary school or secondary school, or even if you have a lecturer as a friend. Now, I'm privileged to be a lecturer. You will realize that at the beginning, you will be told that by the end of this course, you are taking this student, or by the end of this session, or by the end of this lesson, you are taking this children. They are expected to be able to do this, to know this, and to know that. Let's take, for example, you are going to teach a child or a classroom about a noun. Now, when you are teaching a noun, what will be in your aims and objectives, in your lesson note, will be something like, by the end of this class, the students or the pupils should be able to, number one, define a noun. Number two, list examples of a noun. Number three, state the types of a noun. And number four, be able to comprehend and understand each type of a noun with their various examples. That is the aim and objective. And at the end of the day, you will be evaluated based on what you have taught these children. You will be evaluated if they can define a noun, if they know examples of noun, if they know the types of noun with their various or varying examples. When they are able to tell all this, then your boss, your HOD, your leader, the HM, or whosoever is marking the lesson note, or whosoever is summatively examining your work, will say, so and so is a good teacher. Because the children can return verbatim, or can tell us what a noun is, the types of a noun. Okay, I can see you've joined the Telegram. Thank you. What a noun is, the examples of a noun, types of a noun, and what have you. But is that all there is about a noun? Is that all there is about what we should know about a noun? There is much more than that. Take, for example, when you look at the education as a whole has its limitation. Education is what we call academics. The one we go to school to do today is what we call academics. There is education, there is academics, and there is revelation. Academics, for example, if you are following me, academics, for example, has its own place in our lives. Yes, we must go to school, and we must be able to replicate reasons why we are going to school. However, beyond that, academic is meant for regulation, and that is what we go to school to do. That is what we go to school to do, and that is why we go to school. When someone goes to school, for example, whosoever design or define the curriculum the person is to study for that point or for those period of time, whosoever define that curriculum, there are aims and objectives that the person has or had in mind before designing that curriculum to be so. And for us to know that this person is academically sound, by the end of the day, they will give us what they call test or examination based on the curriculum to see if we actually fit in, or if we are fitted into the curriculum that was designed by that person. But the question is this: the first person who ever certifies someone in school, if you are following, the first person who ever certifies someone in school, okay, let's say, for example, now this certificate is for this one, the certificate of completion, the certificate of testimonial that so and so has been in this school for the past 6 years and now is graduating. the certificate or the notification of result. What have you, they call all those things. The first person who ever issued that certificate, the question is this: who certified him? Basically, no one. No one certified him. The first board who actually formed education, who certified that board? Which government of the world or which government of any country certified that person to be able to do what they asked them to do? The point there is this: at every given point in time, at every point in life, one must understand that whatsoever one does, be it vertically or horizontally. When we say vertically, this is, sorry, a minute. Sorry for that interruption. Now, like I was saying, whatsoever someone does in life, you are going to do it vertically and horizontally. Now, vertical education is the one we go to school to learn. And that is the point where we are explaining now. That the first person to certify someone, a bachelor in education in early childhood, bachelor degree in whatever adulthood, bachelor in science in computer, whatever, MBA or PhD, the first person to ever certify someone, who certified the person, who certified them, the first school we ever had in the whole world. What is the board, you get it, that certified that school to be called a school? The curriculum that was used in that school. The first person to design the lesson note, who actually certified the lesson note, who gave the lesson note a thumbs up that, oh, this lesson note is good to go. In fact, by the design of this lesson note, whosoever goes through this, let's give this lesson note 100%. Who was there to give that lesson note a go ahead? The pattern with people write lesson note today, how do we come about all this? Who certified it to make those ones like something tangible that we need to do? Now, as a result of this lack, remember I said we have education, we have academics, and then we have revelation. But I'll be talking about just the education and the academics tonight. Hopefully another time we'll have time for the revelation. Understand that education or academics is what we go to school to learn. Education is what you teach yourself. Education is what we go to school to. Education is what you teach yourself. But academics is what we go to school to learn. Now, the goal of academics has its place. Of course, it has its place. I'm not asking you not to go to school. I'm not asking you not to acquire a certificate. I have my certificate. I'm still planning to have more. You get it? However, even though you are learning, there must be this rebellion that should be inside you. I'm not saying a negative rebellion, but there must be this rebellion that is deeply seated inside you to question everything you go through, to question every lesson, to question every idea that is coming to you. Because when you do not question every idea that comes to you, when you do not have the capacity to question every belief system, the mindset of people that is coming to you, at the end of the day, you will realize that you'll be enslaved to the desired outcome of the designer of that curriculum. Let me say this: if for those who are just joining, at the beginning of the class, I said that when you ask a class teacher to give you a lesson note, you will realize that inside the lesson note there is something that is called aims and objective, and that place you will see that by the end of this lesson, the children or the pupils or the student will be able to know this and that and this and all of that. They will be able to know X and Y and all of that. Now, for us to know that this is a very good teacher, these children or the students or the pupils in that class at that point in time, by the end of that lesson, must be able to replicate, if possible, word for word, what the teacher has taught. If possible, word for word, what the teacher has taught. The Bible says that nobody is above the master. Look at what the Bible says. It said nobody is above the master. The best a servant can be is like the master or be the master. That is academics. But when you now come to education or a higher education than what it is, than the norm that we agreed of, you will not only be like the master, you will now become more than the master. That is why the psalmist himself said, as a result of higher education, he said in the book of Psalms, that I now know more than my teacher. If all he does, or if all he learned, or if all he was going through was just the usual academics, where they go to the synagogue, to the temple to learn, or what Samuel says, what Saul has said, the scroll left by David and Moses for them to learn, if that is all David was learning, all he could be like is just to be like Samuel, who anointed him, is to be like Moses, his forefathers, is to be like Abraham, his ancestors. But imagine what his life turned after he has gone through what they call a higher education. That I know more than my teacher, because he has made the testimony of God. That is when revelation comes in, because he said, I have made the testimony of God, what he eats both day and in the night. That is a higher education. Let me come back to academics now. Academics has its place. Now the purpose of academics is this. Academics is to raise standard. An academic is to sustain regulation. Academic is to maintain order. And academics is to eliminate mediocrity. That is academics. It is to eliminate mediocrity. It is to raise a standard, for example, a standard of living, a standard of thinking. Also, it is to sustain regulation. And then at the end of the day, it is to maintain order, be it order in the community or what have you. That is the purpose of academics. Now, academic will help you a lot. It will help everyone a lot. However, that is not what it is. Because academic will make you, academics, let me say, it will make you to be around, but you will not be present. That is why today, in the world today, Nigeria is around, but in the world civilization, we are not present. If you watch the UN General Assembly, they have the first meeting. That first meeting is for every country of the world to come there. All the presidents who are registered under United Nations, they will come there, they will sit down, they will discuss. Immediately after that one, what will come hereafter? They will still have another session. Forgetting what they call that one. After that session, some countries will leave. You get it now. After that session, some countries will leave. Now, Nigeria will be the only nation in Africa that will make it to the third meeting. Maybe countries like Egypt, countries like like South Africa, countries like Morocco and all those northern countries. But you see, majority of the West African countries, they never make it to that place, because Africa is around in the world. But when we come to the table of civilization, where the fate of the world is designed, or where the fate of the world is put into question, Africa is around but not present, because we are depending on the civilization of the first world for us to be able to move. Why? Because in school we only teach our children the part of the tree. This one is the root, this one is these ones are the leaves, these ones are the branches. We only teach our children the parts of a tree. We do not teach our children or our students or the pupils the values of a tree. That is the problem. And because they are not taught the value of a tree, all they could do is to be like the teacher, like the struggling teacher, like the teacher who is down with his or her own problem, who cannot think higher than the curriculum that was given to him or her to operate. And by the reason of that, the children will now be like the master. You cannot be more than the master. That is it here. All you can do in education can make you a living. Academics rather can make you academics will make you a living. But self-education or higher education will make you fortune. Now when it comes to education, what is there for education? Education is the ability of someone to do these four things. Number one, to maximize potential. And how do you maximize potential? To maximize potential in the three ways that I'm going to list, which is the remaining three ones. Number one, to experience your world. What does it mean to experience your world? To stretch your thinking path, to question the status quo, to see things differently, to ask the question, why? When we were they used to call the teenagers the why generation. You know why? Because there were questions in our mind that we were raising, some existentially relevant questions and ideas that that were coming up with a man. We want to know why. We want to know why. But majority of the teachers then, majority of the parents then, because all they have is the academics based on the curriculum given to them by the Ministry of Education or the Ministry of Ministers of whatever, based on the curriculum they were given. They were gauging us, they were weighing us, they were seeing us from the lens of that curriculum. They themselves don't know why that curriculum was given unto them. So when you now come to ask them, why is this, that, and why is that, they ask you, what is the problem? Come on, consider. The problem is that they don't know the whereabouts of that thing. Because the best they could become was that the teacher who had taught them that, like the ministry or the commission of education who gave them the idea. But to be able to step up, they couldn't do it. But higher education will help you to question your thoughts, to question your desire, to ask some existentially relevant questions, which will lead to some existentially relevant ideas, bringing up something in you, cooking up some questions and some ideas in you which are not normal. How could somebody think, for example, now in the 17th century, that one day will come that from Nigeria to America will only last for like 17 hours? You don't whenever you want to come, you have to travel on the sea in months. No one ever learned that in the classroom. It is a level of a higher education. For somebody to think that there will be something that will be like the bird that will fly, carrying some people. For somebody to think that if I just send a text message now in Hawaii, in South Africa, anywhere you are, in the next 1 second you will receive my text. And in the next 1 minute we can discuss what will cost us 7 years to discuss the 17th century. In those days, for you to be able, I was under a man who said something like, he wrote a letter to his parents. He was studying at the University of Illinois. This is Billy Akon. He wrote a letter to his parents, and the letter he wrote to his parents, the man was in need of, so he wrote a letter to his parents. The letter he wrote to his parents, even after 3 months, he didn't hear from his parents. So eventually, the semester closed and he was able to maneuver his way back home. Now, when he got home, the next day at home, the letter he wrote 3 months ago, he was at home. He was the one who received the letter he wrote. Imagine someone thinking in those days that one day will come and I will not have to write a letter anymore. I will just pick up my phone. Once I have something that looks like airtime or data, I'll just put a call through Daddy Ayuba to my need of money, wire me some money. Immediately, once he does the transaction, the money comes in. It will be mad or crazy for somebody to think of that idea many years ago. Such idea is not being vetted with academics. It is being vetted with a higher academic called higher education. So higher education is one's ability to maximize potential, number one, and to maximize potential through experiencing your world. And you experience your world by questioning your world. Number two is your ability to question your experience. Your ability to question your experience. Now, how do you question your experience? Let me make this biblical allusion, for example. Now, it is possible for Moses, if Moses is living in our own days now, it is possible and so much easier for Moses to rise up one day and say, I want to write a book on how to hear from God through a burning bush. It's possible for him to hear that. It's possible for him to write a book on that. Let's say, for example, Samson can wake up to and tell me, you see, ladies and gentlemen, now I want to tell you, and I want to write a book to hold a seminar and teach you how to feed a lion to hear him. Another person can wake up and tell you, see, all these things you guys are doing is so simple. I want to tell you how to teach your child. Eli can come up and say how to teach your child how to hear from God right from the age of 2. Hannah can come up and tell you, see, I want to write a book. And the title of the book is How to Pray. As how to pray to make your prayer look as if you are murmuring. People can do that. People can say that. People can come up with so much ideas in their mind to write based on their experience, but they they have forgotten that when it comes to experience, of course, if you have been to the higher institution, if you have done the research before, they will tell you that your experience should not be added to your research because your experience could be wrong. And part of what it takes to do research, to collect data rather, experience is not here because experience is different from truth. In fact, experience could be factual. However, fact doesn't mean truth. Fact is different from truth. And for you to know that something is true, or that something is true, for you to know that something is true, that thing must, number one, must be existentially relevant. It must be experientially verifiable. When we say something is experientially relevant, it means that every one of us must experience it, and it must have the same thing. Let's say, for example, I can't tell you I'm having a headache, and my tummy is paining me. That is not headache. Headache means your head is aching you. I can't tell you my tummy is paining me, and I'm holding my toe. So, my tummy is paining me, and I'm holding my toe. It is not experientially. It's not experientially coherent, rather. It's not coherent or it's not aligned experientially. Now, it must also be verifiable in the sense that we must both experience it. For example, 2 plus 2 in America and 2 plus 2 in Nigeria is 4. 2 plus 5 in America, 2 plus 5 in Nigeria will give you 7. This means by experience it is still the same thing. By fact it is still the same thing. When you have put your idea through all these things, become what the truth. But what you do majorly as human, especially in Africa, is this: once someone receives a revelation and once someone experiences something that is mainly for him, what he will do is this: he will generalize the idea and make it a doctrine for his disciples to follow. Take for example, when you look at the history of the those also do not wear. According to this, the peddler of that doctrine or the peddler of that denomination, the founder of that denomination is somebody or Shofa. The way he received from God was, according to what I heard and what I read, was that he's a kind of person who has a big foot or feet. Therefore, he could not wear, and he could not wear shoes. And I think they said that based on the commandment given to him by God, which I'm not sure was that he should not be shoes. And some other things why he has to walk barefooted. For example, for ministration. Now, having received that from God, if it is true that he received that from God, and if it is true that what I just said is true, how come the man was able to generalize the idea for his own people to follow? And the thing could not question the experience if it is experientially verifiable, and if it is existentially relevant, and if it is empirically verifiable. If all these things are put in place, you will realize that so many things that you were taught in life were actually wrong. Sometimes some people will tell you that you cannot read in a noisy environment, you will not concentrate, but that could be a lie. For me, if you are making noise, if once I focus on what I'm doing, I'm there. I'm not moved by none. I'm only moved by noise if I want to think. And even if I'm in a place where I want to think, for example, and I realize that this place is too noisy, what I really do is I just by the techniques of neurolinguistic programming, just put my hands in those two places. I close my eyes in it, as if I'm feeling busy. Close my eyes in it. By that I try to zero in, to narrow down, to streamline my thoughts to what I'm looking at in my mind. So by that doing, even if you are making noise, you are putting the whole building upside down. Once I focus in a noisy environment, I focus. Which means people like me can read where there is noise and we will still assimilate. So when someone tells me that if you are reading where it is noisy, you will not assimilate, it is not experientially verifiable. You cannot generalize the idea. It is experience, and your experience is led for you. Don't bring it upon us. So you have built it, and if you go to a classroom and you question your lecturer, your teacher, in this way, in the academic world, you are wrong. But in a higher educational dimension, what you are doing is that You are only trying to question your experience. And the third one here is you question your experience or what you're experiencing so deep enough that you find the options that existed in it. In the previous class, I talked about in NLP, I talked about one's ability to differentiate between your choice and your options. Where people tell you, okay, you have the choice now, you either die voting for this person than to sell it, you either die than to sell these ones. The problem is that you cannot tell me that, permit me to go political here. You know, the previous election we had in 2019 or so, 2019, I just hope I'm right, 2019, there's this particular man that ran as a vice president. Someone made me see that today. That ran as a vice president in PDP. He was committed to that idea. He was committed to that vision, and he pursued it diligently. You get it now? Now, coming to 2023, he was still in that same party. And he was in that same party up until about 4 months to the general election. And he chose not to believe it anymore. Then he decamped from that place and then came into another party, Labour Party. And we all as Nigerians believe that this man is the savior of the moment. Abba, who do us like this? Who do us like this? The choice we are making, you either make it for PDP, you make it for APC, you make it for Labour Party, you make it for NNPC, or is it NNPC or Underworld? Anyone you make the party for, it is still a political party. And the people there are still the same. Who are they? Politicians. So partisan is not in we making the choice and casting the vote. It is in we being responsible for the options that we are choosing from. If you are not responsible for the options you are to choose from, your vote or your choice is still as useless as a vegetable water. You know vegetable water. Once they use it to wash that vegetable, they will pour it away. So your vote, for example, as powerful as the Constitution tells us it is, if we are not responsible for the choices of people who we are to vote for, or who are to come up for the general election, or for the general and the final election, if we are not responsible for choosing that, if we are not responsible for choosing the options, you get it, for who to be the INEC chairman, if all we say we have is our vote, that vote is as useless and powerful as a vegetable water, because at the end of the day, they will still pour it away. So the power is not in the choice, the power is in the options in which we are to choose from. That is it. And you can only get this idea not in academics but in a higher education. That is it. Higher education is far more better than academics education. We have read and seen people who do not have academics. All they have is a higher education, and then they excel. They excel greatly. They excel brilliantly. All they were able to, number one, maximize their potential. Through, number two, experiencing their world by stretching their thinking. Number three, by questioning their experiences. And then finally, number four, by questioning the experiences so deep enough to see the options and not the choice in their experience. That is it. Now, what did Jim Rohn say about higher education or self-education? He was moving from higher education to self-education, and this was what he said. He said formal education will make you a living. That is, academics will make you a living. But higher education or self-education will make you a fortune. Formal education is a standard, structured and systematic education. Yes, that is what we were taught in school. But it is what you learn in school and colleges. And there is nothing wrong with academics or formal education. But it is designed to give you a job and not to make you a living and not to earn you a living. No, it is designed to make you financially free and not mentally free. You can only be mentally free, you get it, and have freedom, a true freedom, when you have higher education. Higher education, academics is designed to keep the system in part or to keep the system in shape. And they limit how you think and they limit how you say things. It is for people who are to take limited risk and people who are limited to take few responsibility. But self-education or higher education knows no limit. And that is why it has the potential to make you a fortune. Higher education can not only make you a fortune, it will also make you fulfill, because it gives you the choice and the options to educate yourself on things that will enhance the quality of your choice and the quality of your decision and the quality of your life. Think of all the greatest entrepreneurs in the world. See, the thing here is this: people who make America today are not politicians. They are not people who go to school, who have PhD, who have ROD or whatever, the Ds or the BSc or the MBAs or the bachelors and the spinsters, whatever they call the certificate. They are the people who have tapped into their potential, who have questioned their experiences, and who have what we are talking about tonight: higher education. So these are people who are self-educated people, and they are likely to have formal education, even though some of them have few of these things. So higher education never ends. After school, it continues. But for people who all they want is just to live in their house, who they are not willing to take part in the larger part of the world, all they need is just a few money, and then they are good with their own family to go to beach, to spend summer in America, to come to Europe in the winter, to go to whatever country or whatever continent during the fall, and all those ones. But people who want to colonize the mind of people, people who want to register their brand in the soul and the consciousness, even the subconscious mind of people, where you have to tap into goes beyond academics. Academic is only a tool to help you think further, more better, higherly in a higher education. But you must have it deeply seated in you, a kind of rebellion that questions everything and anything that you are being taught. That is it. So education or life itself is a classroom, and the only goal is to learn how to grow on a daily basis. And the major value of life is not what we get. The major value of life is what we become. The major question is not what am I having here. The major question in life is what am I becoming here. It is never the material success that gives us the most value. It is the self-pride that comes from having extended and expanded ourselves in trying to know more about ourselves that actually matters. It is not the money on the house that will bring you the joy. It is the pride of knowing you have earned the money and the house. That is where the value is, and that is where the value resides. You don't get more because you do not become more. You earn more because you are now what? Because you have become more. That is it there. You do not earn more because you have not become more. You become more because you earn more. If you don't design your own life by going higher in education, by going deep in what we call higher education, chances are that your lot in life will be so small. And guess what? People will have plans for you. They can always bring you in, cut one small shape for you, give you one small thing there, give you a land of 3 million when your salary is about 30,000 naira, and then you'll be enslaved for the next 30 years. That is it. That is what is common now. Somebody's salary is about 30,000 naira, and because he has been so faithful and because he have the skill, they give him a car or they give him a land of about 15 million. How will he pay 50 million from 30,000 naira on a monthly basis? He means this man will be there for life, because all the man is serving is academics. But if you have higher education, you can see into the mind of people. You can read from the options from the options that is placed before you, and you can balance the equation, knowing fully well what to choose and what not to choose. Yes, so if you are waiting for others to hand you success, you will be waiting in your hand until you are dying. If you want anything in life, the responsibility falls on you with your higher education. Only the person who can do that is you, and no one owes you anything. School will not tell you, no one owes you anything, because academic has programmed you to be employed, to be employable. Academic has programmed you to be employable. Self-education will program you to be deployable. Academics will make people employ you, but self-education, higher education, will make you to deploy yourself. If you don't have plan for yourself, people have plan for you. And guess what? The plan is so small. So all you must do is what? Is to sacrifice for your goal. All you must do is to go out and work for it. And don't wait for anyone to hand it out to you. The magic is this. You must go out and get it yourself. Education that we learn in school, the formal education is good, but there should be a higher education. And as you go to school to get all those results, to get all those wonderful certificates, let there be seated deeply rooted in your mind a rebellion. You get it? A critical mind that constructively criticizes the whole thing, the whole ideas, the whole mindset that they are selling to you. Because at the end of the day, if all you have is the formal education, if all you have is the PhD, you will never have more than that. And you will become the exact opposite of what you are designed to be, of what your makeup should look like. Therefore, understand that academic is good, academic is fine. However, higher education is the finest. And we must all, ask ourselves some deep questions, some existentially relevant questions that will help us to be able to maximize our potential to the end that we see to it that our world is becoming a better place. Do you want to have a stake in the future? The key is higher education. Do you want to have the stake in 30 years time? The key is to get yourself around the people who are seeing further than you, so that you can climb on their shoulder to see higher and better than them. Yes. So having come to the end of my presentation, understand the fact that life continues and life is a classroom, and our responsibility is for us to grow in that classroom on a daily basis, for us to see more, for us to become more. And because before you see more, you must go into higher education. For us to become more, you must go into higher education. With academics, you will have money but not fortune. With academics, you can have riches but not wealth. But with higher education, when you pursue growth, you will have goal and you will have growth. And at the end of the day, you will become indispensably valuable. That your world will come to your feet and bow because they are seeing the result that you are producing on a daily basis. Yes. Thank you very much. So if you have any question, let me take one or two. And if there is none, let's call it a day here. Thank you very much for being available on the call tonight. I remain myself, Hezekiah Onalo, a native of Kogi State, privileged to be a Nigerian, and of course, a citizen of heaven. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming on board tonight. So this class will be available on our Telegram in the next 24 hours. To be available on our Telegram handle. So to listen to it again, you can visit our Telegram by this time tomorrow. It will be available there. So thank you very much for coming on board tonight. See you on Wednesday.
Okay, wow. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it.
You are welcome, Mr. Chukwuemeka.